All right, in today's Spotlight, the ACLU and the Mexican government taking steps to challenge sweeping new legislation in Texas that would empower state and local law enforcement to arrest people who they suspect entered the U.S. illegally. This controversial law will allow for individuals to be detained and then deported after arrest. Similar legislation was struck down by the Supreme Court in 2012 as being unconstitutional, and it was an Arizona law, sometimes referred to as the so-called Show Me Your Papers provision. So I want to bring back our panel here, Mike, John, Christina, and joining us from Mexico City is our ABC News foreign correspondent, Matt Rivers. So thank you all for being with us. And Matt, let's start here with you. You're there in Mexico City. If this law goes into effect, we could see everyone who crosses the border illegally into Texas from Mexico be deported right back to Mexico. But Matt, that would happen even if they originated from other countries. So how are Mexican officials reacting to that?
Yeah, not a surprise, Kania, that Mexico is really against the implementation of this law. Mexico's president just this morning saying that Mexico's government is already taking steps to challenge the law. Exactly what that means, he didn't specify, but expect Mexico's government to raise a lot of objections to this. They think it's against U.S. law, international law, and they think it's against any sort of moral code with which migrants should be treated. Mexico also continues to come back to the point, well, why is it on Mexico's federal government to solve U.S. immigration problems for them? The vast majority, or at least the majority, depending on the month you're talking about, of migrants that would be deported back to Mexico are not Mexicans. They don't want to be in Mexico. They're simply passing through Mexico to get to the United States. So Mexico's position on all this is, why are we solving the U.S. problems for them in addition to seeing a massive humanitarian crisis that, make no mistake, would unfold in northern Mexico play out? Mexico's government vehemently opposed to this.
And Christina, we'll take it to you. El Paso County, they're really practical about this law. They say at this point they simply do not have the room in their prisons if this were to go into effect. So where would all of these people go?
Yeah, this law is not about making progress on this issue. This is about playing politics. And what people need to understand, I live here in Texas. I've lived here for the last 20 years. That what's so outrageous about this law is part of the fact is that perhaps no state has benefited more from immigrants than Texas. 1 in 6 Texans are foreign-born. We have 1.7 million people who are undocumented. This is not just about the border. This is about the broader state as a whole. 1.7 million people, many of who have lived here for decades, are homeowners, have raised their kids here. This law is a draconian, unconstitutional. It's going to sweep up hardworking, honest immigrants, increase racial profiling, and force police to waste time and resources enforcing immigration law instead of fighting violent crime.
But John, as we take that to you here, people in Texas, including the governor, they consider the situation at the border desperate. John, you were on the Homeland Security Committee when you were in Congress. Is what we're seeing right now, is this the result of the Biden administration softening their border policies? I mean, is Texas left without a choice here?
You know, listen, I understand the arguments, and I credit the arguments that my colleagues just made, but the simple reality is there's no place on earth, no other country on earth that would put up with what we're putting up with at the southern border. And yes, the first day that President Biden was in office, he issued a series of executive orders that signal to the cartels that it's a changed atmosphere. And because of that, the cartels were charging $10,000 to $15,000 per head per person to come across this border. They're getting enriched by billions of dollars a month by this. They're exploiting this. And the bottom line is there's no good argument. Their arguments are right, but there's also arguments that are right as to securing our border. Look at New York City. Their budgets are being crushed because of this. And there's problems all across the country. And there's a lot of people on the terror watch list that have gotten through as well. So I think what they should do is with respect to this law in particular, it's an issue. We'll see what happens in the courts, but we need a grand bargain in Congress, secure the border, get aid to Ukraine, get aid to Israel, and let's get back to some normalcy.
And we'll see what happens. Again, this if this goes through, it would go through in March of 2024 is when it would start. So, Mike, to you, can this really be enforced? There's a lot of groups right now raising concerns, something Christina touched on, that law enforcement essentially would be using race as a probable cause.
That is the heart of this challenge right here in terms of the enforcement. It's not going to be able to go into effect until March, but it's going to have to go through into the court system. We're going to get to discriminatory practices in areas with law enforcement going to individuals and asking them what their immigration status is without having the proper training in order to best do immigration reform and regulations when it comes to that. The challenge, though, is that we are allowing what's happening at south of the border to be a scapegoat by not allowing Congress to really focus on the broader scheme, which is comprehensive immigration reform. Challenge with immigrations isn't just those who are in Mexico or, as Matt said, also too coming from Central America, but it's a global dynamic and challenges at hand. And so Congress needs to act on a comprehensive and not just focus on south of the border.
All right, and we'll see how that plays out, won't we, there in Congress? Go ahead, John.
I said spot on, Mike.
Spot on, he says. All right, well, we appreciate all of you, Mike, John, Christina, and Matt, for joining us from Mexico City. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.